Welcome to today's practice. This practice is going to be geared around a lot of use in the lower body and releasing through our low back because of a lot of lower body usage. So to begin with, I'm going to ask that you grab your blanket. And as per everything, it's always good just to have all the props around you just in case. But take a seat up on the blanket. And if you're extra tight through the hips and you have a bolster or want to fold the blanket more, or sit on a block, please do that as well. Remembering that even in the pause moments or the moments that feel mundane in your practice, that you want to create as much support for your body as possible so that you can have an optimum practice, really. You want the best benefits from the time that you're about to spend on the mat. And you do so by making sure that you're prepared, by making sure that you listen to what your body's asking for and what it needs. So that said, finding a comfortable position, resting the palms on the legs, and closing the eyes. Just starting to check in. Start to feel the physical body relax, intentionally releasing tension. Noticing the state of the physical body as well as the state of the mental and emotional body. How are you feeling today? Taking stock in this and noticing, being attentive to the details, so that as you move, you can witness the changes that happen, and also pay attention to the needs of your body. Let's bring the palms to the center of the chest. Just taking a moment to set an intention for your practice today. And we'll set a collective intention just because it's nice to have that sort of guidance sometimes. The collective intention will be to pay close attention, honoring your body, knowing that it has a greater wisdom about itself than any book could ever give it. And that as long as you truly listen to it, you'll feel amazing after class. Just taking a moment to sit with that, as if it could sink into your cells, as if that idea could absorb throughout the entire body. Blinking the eyes open. We'll release the hands. Just take a few deep breaths, open mouth exhales, maybe open mouth inhales too, just starting to release tension through the abdomen and through the torso up into the diaphragm and down. Mobilize through the head, just get a bit explorative, and you can start to move from side to side or forward and back. And just take a moment to mobilize. It's always good to pay attention to the movements that you make, to be inquisitive about those movements, so that you build this catalog, this wealth of knowledge about your body, knowing that's how I felt that day and that's how that movement made me feel, so maybe it's accurate again. Sometimes it's not. You just start to get to know yourself better. Let's palm through the thighs. So just take the hands and press on the thighs, warming through the legs. This is a Thai yoga massage technique. Pressing the palm in and noticing how that feels. It can start to go to the inner knee, gently on the inner knee though, and then down through the calves. Keep some sway and some rock in your body. Just starting now to get a little fluid. And if you're doing open mouth exhales, let's seal the lips and latch the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Starting to breathe more controlled in and out of the nose. If that doesn't suit you today, don't do it. And we're going to start in a kneeling position. Pad your knees if it's necessary for you. I'm going to do the side view so you can see what I'm doing, if that's helpful. Hopefully my cueing's good enough that you don't need that shit. So the knees will be hip bone width distance apart. The arms will be down alongside the body. The feet will be not flexed, so the toes will point out behind you. And let's start with the palms at the center of the chest. This gives us a little bit of a lift and a centering mechanism, so hugging into the midline of the body. Engage through the legs and through the glutes just a bit. And on the inhale, sweep the arms out, up, overhead, look up. And exhale, take the hips back towards the heels, hands to the low back, chest to thighs, forehead to the floor. On the inhale, you flatten the back, sweep the arms, rise up, lift up through the chest, feel the space in the waistline. And then exhale, shift the hips back, sweep the hands back, forehead towards the mat, chest towards the thighs. And you're working distinctly with the breath here, so the inhale kind of leads you up by opening through the chest and the collarbones and flattening the upper back. And the exhale takes the hips back towards the heels, lengthening the low back, sweeping the arms. Continue to do these repetitions, not with any specific number in mind, but knowing that you're working to balance the curvatures of the spine, but more importantly, you're mobilizing the hip joints. You're mobilizing the shoulder joints, and you're just starting to get an idea for how your body feels today. Let's do 2 more. And on your last one, you'll just sit the hips down and back. If you need to sit up on a block, please do so. Bring the palms to the center of the chest and take stock of how you feel. Notice if the movements put you out of breath, and if they did, recollect that breath. Pace it by counting the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale. Release the hands. We're going to grab our blocks. Come up onto the knees. Place the blocks on right and left sides of the mat. And let's step the right foot forward. So you're coming into this lunge, sinking the hips forward and down. And this is one of my favorite movements lately, but overall especially. We're just going to start to mobilize the hip joint and not stick to any strict alignment cues. Just again, familiarizing yourself with how the legs are feeling. So on the inhale, we come forward and we press the collarbones forward, lengthening through the upper back, hugging the shoulder blades down. And then on the exhale, we'll shift the hips back. You can take the blocks with you. Straighten that right leg. Fold over that right leg. And then on the inhale again, come forward and mobilize the blocks. So let yourself know that you have the space and the time, and it doesn't have to look fluid and beautiful for you to be moving back and forth between these two poses. And you move by the sound of your breath rather than the sound of my voice. Just gaining some introspection about your boundaries, your needs, your wants for today's practice. And the next time that you come back, go ahead and stay back. Now there are modifications to this pose. I'm in, I guess, maybe a deeper variation of this position, but I'm only referring to it as deeper because my back leg is fully compressed. If you have knee issues, please don't come back that far. Please have the hips up away from the heel. And then what you can do is you can just walk the right foot a little bit further forward, flexing the toes. As if you could breathe into that hamstring, the meat of that hamstring, the center of that hamstring, do so. And on the inhale, because it can only take so much, come forward into the lunge. Maybe you let your right knee surpass your right ankle. And you drop the hips forward and you feel some opening on the back thigh. However, if you tend to go all the way into the depth of this posture, to the very, very last limit that your body can go, please back out just a bit. And back out by engaging through your legs to shift the hips back, exploring a different sort of space with your body. The upper back is flat, the chest extends. Hypermobile people should back out of the pose. People who tend towards a lot of tightness in the body should start to, in a supported way, work deeper and deeper into the pose. Let's go ahead, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, be powerful through that back leg. Take the blocks out wide for a little bit more support. And then you're really going to weight through this right leg. So you should feel the quads start to kick on. And then lift the left leg, step it forward. Hang in a forward fold for a moment. So arms can hang down towards the ground. You can interlace the arms. The knees will have a little bit of a bend to them. If your back is like this, which fair enough, a lot of people's is, bend the knees more because it'll give you more opportunity to fold further forward. What that does to kind of how that works is it's going to force your quads to work a bit more. The stronger that the lower body is, the more the upper body can release. So you're starting that process of strengthening down here so that you can loosen up here. Shake out the head if you need to. And then just sit for a moment in stillness. We'll probably be here for about a minute just to take time for the back side of the body to peel open. And think about it starting from the heel to the back of the knee, up into the glute, and then traveling along the spine, up into the back of the skull, and maybe even up and over the skull. Be with yourself. Both physical and mental sensations of each posture, whether they're scary or peaceful, just make the commitment to be with them, with you. Let's place the hands to the blocks and step our right foot back, releasing the right knee to the ground, coming into this lunge. And again, you just find this lunge for you. Upper back extends so that the collarbones push forward. The elbows, you'll see, are nice and soft, so you're not extending that elbow joint, pushing it forward towards the front edge of the mat. And then start to mobilize. Taking an inhale here, and exhale, shift the hips back. Move the blocks with you. Shift the hips forward, move the blocks with you. Treating them as though they're an extension of your own body. You develop this rhythm with yourself. And this rhythm might be for the next week, or it might be just for today. But through your breath, you can balance and smooth it out. The next time that you shift back, you'll stay back. Slowly come forward on an inhale. Feel the way that, again, the blocks are an extension of your body. And whether you have the space to have the hands on the floor or on the blocks, I'm going to ask you to really choose blocks in your practice sometimes, because it gives you that extra lift and that extra that extra space between the torso and the thigh. Let's pick up the back knee. Be strong through that back leg. Feel the muscle hug the bone. And then step the right foot forward. Then you can place the blocks. We'll take one to about the center of the mat. The other can place off to the side. And then start to bend the hips down and bring the elbows to the top of the thighs. And it's that same idea that I was talking about in the forward fold, is we're starting to load a lot of weight into the legs. And that weight bearing, that engagement, that strengthening through the legs helps to release the low back. But this is a little bit different than like biking or hiking or running, like is said in the title. This sort of strength, this static strength, allows the support to really travel up all the way through the entirety of the muscle from end to end, creating a more what's the word? Balanced support, I suppose. Bring the hands to the top of the thighs. They should start to be on fire about now. Let there be open mouth exhales. Sink the hips a little bit lower. Start to lift up through the chest and then slowly straighten the legs. Bring the palms to the center of the chest. Don't lock out your knees here. Feel the engagement of the legs and then just the sensations that run through the legs. Release the hands. Let's step wide on the mat. This is where you're going to want your block. You can place the blanket off to the side. Stepping the feet wide. We're going to have the outer edges of the feet parallel to the outer edges of the mat. And we're just going to stand here for a moment. Typically we go into a forward fold in this position. We're not going to go there just yet. I just want you to feel what it's like through the inner thighs, through the top of the thighs, through the back of the thighs, and through the glutes. Close the eyes, bring the palms to the center of the chest, feel the legs. And then softly open the eyes. Release the arms. Point the right toes out. So you're looking for heel to heel alignment. Please not heel to arch of the foot, just because the practice that we're doing today is designed to release the low back. And for future reference, heel to the arch of the foot alignment narrows the hip line, so then you can't get as much space through here. We're going to bend into that right knee. And I almost just said lovingly, so I guess I'm going to go with that. Lovingly and gently, you're just going to bring the right elbow to the right thigh. So you're not going to look for a lot of extension when you do it. You're just going to kind of sink into the right waistline. And feel the legs, left hand to the hip. Take a moment here. And then it's up to you. You can take the left arm up towards the ceiling. You can leave the hand on the hip. Or you can bring the left arm along the left ear for extended side angle. And I want you to get some good extension wherever you are down through the outer edge of the left leg. Typically the front leg is the descriptor leg for us. That's the one where we're like, oh yeah, I can feel this the most, so I must be working that. I'm going to ask you, and most often I ask to check in with the back leg. So you press firm into the outer edge of the back foot, and you feel that leg engage, and then you choose the arm position from that leg and its needs. And then you choose the head position after you've chosen the arm position. Tension in the neck and shoulders, look down or neutral. Feeling strong, feeling good, look up. Breathe. Release that left arm wherever it is. And then slowly come back up. Straighten that right leg, pivot the foot in. Take a moment to feel through that right thigh. One of the cool things about the body that I really like is the art of distraction with it. So by focusing on the back leg, we're not too attentive to what's going on in the front leg, but then when we come out of the position, where we tend to feel the release is in the front leg. So let's switch sides. Point the left toes out, heel to heel alignment. Some people get really stubborn with making that adjustment like it's a regression out of their practice. Just gives you more space. And if anything, we could all use a little bit more space, both in our lives and in our bodies. So lovingly, again, place that left elbow to the top of the left thigh. Focus on the back leg. Just take a moment to assess your body, assess your mind, connect to the back leg, and then choose the arm position on the side. On the side, it can be very different than you did on the opposite side. Again, listening to your body's needs, following that intention for class today. Slowly release that right arm. And then gently come up. Straightening the left leg. Just pausing there for a moment. Notice the sensations that come through that left leg. And then point the toes in. Realign the feet in case they came out of being parallel and in line with each other. Bringing the hands to the hips. Softening the knees, and now we'll come into the forward fold. So with the block here, we're going to work our way slowly into the forward fold, so don't just like take it all in right now. Place the hands on the block. Feel some extension through the spine. And then maybe start to come down onto the forearms if it's available for you. And then maybe you can lower the block. You can come down a little bit deeper. Just really starting to progress through your pose and taking small baby steps so that you can say, how does this feel? This feels good. That doesn't feel good. I shouldn't go that far. I'm going to back out to here. I'm going to go a little bit deeper. So you continue to ask yourself these questions of how it's feeling and what you're feeling and where you're feeling it, why you might be feeling it. And then we'll just take some time here in the position that we've chosen. Slowly, just like we went in slowly, back out slowly. And once you're about halfway up with the back, with the torso, point the toes out and the heels, then bend through the knees a bit, and then the weight bears into the legs and we press up. We take notice of how we're feeling. We just pause for a moment. We'll bring the palms to the center of the chest. If you're lightheaded, bend through the knees. Then we're going to bring the feet a little bit closer together, and we're going to grab one or two of our blocks, and we're going to set the blocks down. So what we're going to do is come into Malasana, where we squat down. Well, this is entirely up to you. Make sure that you're on a stable surface. You can have one block, two blocks. You can have a bolster and then a block. You can have nothing. I'm going to recommend some support so that the sacrum here can really start to get a release, because we're going to spend some time here. So find which variation works for you. Palms come to touch, elbows can rest on top of the knees or to the inner edge of the knees. A little added pressure. Just close the eyes. If you want, you can just drop the arms too, thinking about sitting up straight. We're getting a passive, or depending on your body, maybe an aggressive opening through the inner thigh. And we're trying to think about that sacrum relaxing further and further and further down. And steadying the inhale and the exhale. Consciously relaxing through the groin and through the hips. Checking in with appropriation for your body in this position at this moment in time. Doing that by being aware and attentive to what you're feeling. Opening the eyes. And we're going to come into child's pose. A supported child's pose. Perhaps you can put a bolster between the thighs. I'm just going to take the blanket, place it over the top of the thighs and kind of press it into the hip flexors and then come forward. Now, options for the upper body are arms out in front of you, are elbows bent, hands pointing up, arms down alongside you, either side of the face turned to the ground. Finding the position that works best for you, we're moving into a little bit more silent time with our practice. Letting that be so. And starting to feel the openings in the body as you lie here for the next couple of minutes. placing your props off to the side for a moment. Let's just have a seat. And then transition to lie on your back. And when we're on our back, we're going to have the knees bent and the feet placed as wide as the yoga mat. Nothing underneath the head. Taking the arms out wide. And then just beginning to windshield wiper through the legs. Slowly moving them from side to side. Mobilizing through the pelvis, but making sure that we're not just rushing through the movement and doing momentous movements. Instead, we're doing conscious and intentional movement, explorative movement, so that we can figure out how and what the body's doing and feeling. The head can start to turn in opposition of the legs, or it can turn in the same direction. Eventually, we'll just settle back at the center and take your time. Once you're at center, you'll bring the hands to the torso and drop the knees into touch. Scan through your body, see how it's feeling, what it's communicating to you. Now, the options, actually we're going to do both of them. So grab your block, separate the feet, separate the knees, bring the feet hip bone width distance apart, and lift up for bridge. Slide the block underneath the sacrum. You can do whatever height is most comfortable. Know that the block should not be touching the low back. So the top edge of the block is just a little bit above the butt crack, and that's going to give you a good support through the back of the pelvis so that the abdomen and the low back can relax. And we're just going to spend some time here, letting it relax more and more. You can stay here, or you can start to bring the knees in towards the chest, adjusting the block if you would like to, and then extending the legs up towards the ceiling. And you kind of create a shelf with that block for the top of the pelvis and the back to rest on. And then the extension of the legs up just allows an inversion quality, so the blood is draining out of the legs and coming down into the torso. Take a look up at your feet and your legs. Notice if they look even or if they're pushed off to one side or the other. And if you don't have your legs lifted, notice the weight in the pelvis against the block. Does it feel even from the right to the left side? And then if the legs are lifted, you'll slowly start to lower the feet back down. Once the feet are placed firm to the floor, give a second for the glutes to relax and the sacrum to kind of settle in. And you kind of want to think about it like that final puzzle piece that you click into place. You want to feel that sensation through the pelvis, through the sacrum. And then after you've done that, you'll lift the hips, slide the block out from underneath. You can take both blocks now, bringing the bottoms of the feet together, dropping the knees out wide, and having the outer edge of the thighs supported by the block. And you'll know if that's appropriate for you because you know your body. So I'm going to trust you to choose, obviously, whatever is going to work best for you. Sometimes I like a little bit more support. Sometimes I like the full throttle. And then grab your blanket and just place it over the torso, giving yourself some warmth and some heaviness to settle into your final relaxation pose. And in this pose, you'll feel the curvatures of your body against the ground, the heaviness of the parts that are touching, and the space between the floor and the parts that are not touching. And start to let yourself get lost in your body. Beginning to bring the legs together. Once the feet are flat to the floor, you can assess and take account how the low back is feeling and then decide any movements that you need from there. Taking them, knowing that you have some time to do this. eventually coming up to a seated position. Bringing the palms to the center of the chest once you're upright. And again, just resting into yourself. Trusting yourself and doing things that allow you to become more educated on you, your wants and your needs, and the whys, the whats, the whens, the hows behind those wants and needs. With the constant input of outside information, it's easy to get confused about how to approach our own lives as individuals. So perhaps that your practice is about that. Becoming more whole because you know yourself better and better after each time. Feeling this strength deep at the center of you, this strength of knowledge. Relaxing the jaw and then softening to the outer edges of your body. Just letting the breath come to a place where it's natural. Blinking the eyes open. Have a great day. Namaste.
Ah.